Hello. Good afternoon, good day, everyone, wherever you're watching me from. How you're doing today? I want to see you. I want to see you in the comments. I want to see you in the chat box. Let me know where you're joining from. I know I have your data, but I want to know who is here. So let me see where you're joining from. Yeah. We have people who have registered from, I think, about 3 continents and 4 countries. And we have about 62 professionals that registered for this particular program. All right. Tolu from Winnipeg. Of course, my wife is here. Adora from Canada. That's my wife. Okay. Let me see. Who else is here? Who else is here? Who else is here? Please let us know where you're joining from. Let us know where you're joining from. I can see that you can hear me loud and clear for those who are already making comments. And please don't share this link. You know, this is a private broadcast. Don't share this link with anyone who did not register, of course. And let me quickly say this whilst we are waiting for other people to tell us where they are joining us from. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. A lot of resources is coming your way this year, and you have to stay alert. Okay, so if you like this video and subscribe to it, subscribe to this channel, you'll be glad you did. Okay, and secondly, we have a WhatsApp channel also, because most of the things that we'll be doing is going to be like in our community, sort of. So if you're not part of the community, then you may be left out. Someone is saying they didn't get the email. Okay, let me just. Some people did not check their spam folder and all that, so I guess that could be a challenge. So, yes, I can see. Oh, Kudrat. Hey, Alaja from Unilag, joining from United Kingdom. Awesome. Oladotun from Nigeria. Dunsin from Canada. Where are my US people at? I can only see Nigeria. I'm only seeing Nigeria, Canada, and UK. People register from the US too. Where are they? Okay, the Global Praise joining from Port Harcourt. They call it Port Harcourt. I don't know if I got the the pronunciation right. Okay, are you guys ready? Olushola from Winnipeg, Canada. Yes, my Winnipeg people are representing. Good. Awesome. All right. Now I want to say this, that I do not take this forum I do not take it lightly, and I hope you don't either. So if you're in a distracted place, I want you to go to a secluded area of your apartment, of your house right now, because I'm going to be dropping some gems. Right? We are talking about 15 years of experience packed into 2 hours. I hope you can bite more than you can chew, though. Are you ready? I'm still tracking where people are joining us from. Good. So let me say this first, so that we are all on the same page and we are all functioning from the same frequency. Public announcement. This session is not a motivational talk session. I am not here to excite you. Reason being that excitement fades, right? I am here to align you. And when you are aligned, see, something about alignment is it stays. It is firm. if you drive well, maybe you have a car. Once the alignment of your car is fixed, then you're going to enjoy the wheel, right? So what we are doing tonight is slower than what most people are used to, and that is very intentional, because anything that shapes life must be approached with patience. All right, anything that shapes lives must be approached with patience. And rushed work may look productive, but it rarely produces depth. You can't compare the nutrients you get from noodles to the nutrients you get from pounded jam and vegetable, for instance. Do you see? So tonight, I'm going to sort of go gently, and I'm going to make sure that we also think carefully. All right. I hope that the people we have right here, right now, locked in, are people who are thinkers. So this session is going to spur you to do some some deep thinking and some reflection. Okay. Because my goal for this session is for us to look at the work that you are doing that is beneath the work you're currently doing. We are looking at the work beneath the work you're currently doing. All right. We are looking at the goal behind the goal that you've set yourself. So let's just do a quick scan on everyone here. I want the media guys to just pull up that slide up. Let's do a quick scan. So we closed registration yesterday, and before we delve into it, I start with your responses carefully. I'm a researcher, so I approach my work with that approach. So 61 people registered from different countries, different cities, with different stories. We've got 10 coaches. You can move to the next slide. We've got 10 coaches. We've got ministry leaders. We have educators. Next slide, please, Tony. Educators, aspiring coaches, parents. Next, just keep flipping to the slides. Don't worry, I'll just flow. But what struck me was not enthusiasm. What struck me from the responses, as you can see on your screen, is weight. All right. And when I talk about weight, I mean the weight of responsibility, the weight of influence. Because most of you, from what we see from the data we gathered, is the fact that most of you are already shaping young lives, whether you fully realize it or not. You're already doing that. And the largest group in the data that we gathered has 1 to 3 years of experience. And that is very important. That really matters to me, because that stage tells me something very specific, that you have moved past theory. You've met with reality. You are currently on the field. You're already interacting with young people. You're already doing the work. And you see, something about reality is the fact that it has a way of humbling passion. A lot of people in this space are passionate people. Oh, you just want to help young people live a functional life, become a fully functional adult. Passion is great. All right. So the stage at which most of you on this platform are operating now is the stage where people usually discover that caring deeply or caring passionately is not the same thing as being prepared adequately. All right. I'm just interpreting what data says, right? So when we asked about challenges, the loudest answer from what you can see was not "I need more information." It was mentorship and accountability. Then the next one was structure, then sustainability. In other words, what you guys are saying to me is, see, Uncle Okpe or Dr. Okpe, I care deeply about young people, but I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of guessing. So that statement of fact alone explains why this session matters. So I want some energy in the comment right now. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I want to see some fire emoji in the chat box right now. Are you ready, guys? Are you ready? So let's start by, now this is 120 minutes that we're spending together. That's like 2 hours. 2 solid hours. All right, 2 solid hours. So I'm going to start with the core problem in youth work, or the core problem in teens and youth development space, which is, and this is based on research, right? Personal observation, though. It is passion without structure. That's what I've observed over the years, over the space of 15 years. People are passionate about what they do, but there's no structure. I was once there, because unlike, look at a field like medicine, for instance. You want to become a medical doctor, you already know, let's say you are in Nigeria, or you're a Nigerian living in Nigeria, you've got to go to science school, then you write your WAEC, you write your JAM, write your post-JAM, choose medicine and surgery, then you go for maybe 6 or 7 years in the university, then you go for special, there are pathways. All right, you can stop the slide now and just show my face. All right, so there are pathways to specific profession. There are pathways to certain vocation. All right, but this field does not really have that kind of structure in some parts of the world. Even in the Western world, there's not really sustainable structure for the kind of work that we do. And I need to be honest with you guys. Many people don't lose young people because they don't care, or because they are not passionate. People lose young people. Parents lose young people. Educators lose young people. Youth pastors lose their members. Teen mentors lose their teenagers, because we often, as professionals in this space, don't think structurally. You think passionately, you think emotionally, but you don't think structurally. And most people assume the opposite. They think, see, if I care enough, if I show up enough, if my heart is in the right place, this thing will work. And see, guys, care is very important. Passion is very important, but passion is not a system. Care is not a system. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I'm going to share a lot with you today, but what I'll still share today is just 0.00000000001% of what you would have gleaned from my wealth of experience. So let me say this to you. Passion without structure is dangerous. Passion without structure is dangerous. And it is not because passion is wrong, but because passion is unstable on its own. Now, the reason why passion is unstable on its own is because passion is an emotional energy. And what we know about emotion is your emotion is fickle. Your emotion is not stable. It goes up and down like a yo-yo. So emotional energy fluctuates. You can be happy today, and the next minute you're sad. It fluctuates. So passion is an emotional energy. It fluctuates. It is unstable. And that is why when you are doing something passionately and there's no structure around it, it is dangerous. Even God, if you're a student of the Bible, before he sends the flood, right, he asked Noah to build the ark. That's what we call the law of structure and flow. If there's no structure, there can't be flow. Before God breathed into man to make man a living being, he had to create the mold itself. So they've got to be a structure before there's flow. So you're probably stuck where you're at right now in this space or in this work because there's probably no structure. Does that make sense? I need, as I'm speaking, I want to be seeing feedback. That's why I'm looking at this other screen. All right, I want to be seeing feedback. I want to be sure you're getting value for your time. So I said passion is an emotional energy, right? Because some days you're present, some days you're patient, some days you're generous, and other days you're just tired. Other days you're just distracted or even overwhelmed by your own life, because you've got issues in your own life too. You're also human. So when passion runs out, guess what? Something else must hold the work together. And if nothing else exists, the work begins to depend on you. And that's a dangerous place to be as a coach or as a mentor to young people. Because let me make it practical. Imagine a teen space where sometimes sessions start on time, sometimes sessions don't start on time, or sometimes you were able to enforce boundaries. Sometimes even the boundaries are overlooked. Sometimes you listen patiently, sometimes you snap, sometimes you give consequences for actions, sometimes you postpone it. Now, from an adult perspective, what I've just described feels human. But teenagers don't see it like that. They've got different lens. Youth don't see it, young people don't see it like that. They feel unsafe. That's not predictable. Teenagers don't grow because you're passionate. That's what I'm trying to say to you. They grow because you're consistent. They grow because you're consistent, you're clear, and they feel safe around you. And when we talk about safety, safety is not only physical in and of itself. For teenagers, as a coach, you must know that safety is emotional. And hypothetically speaking, a teenager is asking, can I predict how my mentor will respond to me today? Can I predict how my parents will respond to this issue? In fact, when they ask that question, that's why they just migrate to secrecy. They just keep things to themselves. You must also know that safety is relational. A teenager is asking, do the rules change depending on whether my mentor likes me or not? Oh, if it was Ajanle Koko that does this, what would have happened in the context? Third thing about safety in the lens of a teenager is, to them, safety is predictability. Safety is predictability. In this space, stable, I want to put it in a proper context. Your teenager should be able to say, you know what? If I do this to my mentor, his mood is not going to change. He has got this situation, right? Imagine maybe one of the teenagers under your care is pregnant, for instance, or just had sex for the first time. If your teenager cannot predict your reaction, then that teenager is not safe, will not feel safe with you. So I said all of those to say this, or I said all of that to say this rather. Most damage in youth spaces is not intentional, except if the person is a criminal. I don't think anybody comes into this space to work in this space to say, you know what, I want to damage people, right? So most of the damage in our spaces is just because of lack of structure. And this happens when expectations are unclear. This happens when boundaries are implied but not stated. You can't be working with young people and you did not state boundaries expressly and explicitly rather. You've got to state the boundaries. You've got to ensure that the expectations are clear. All right. You've got to ensure that your role or their roles are not assumed, that every role is defined. This is my role in your life. This is your responsibility. This is what I need you to do. It has to be defined. You can, for folks that are joining from Africa, there are certain things that you do that you go away with, but you can't try it in the first world country. In a place like US, you've got to state it expressly. Because there's just a thin line between what you are doing and going to jail. Just so you know. So when there is no structure, everything depends on your personality as the mentor, as the youth pastor, as the educator, as the coach, as the parent. Everything depends on your personality. Everything depends on your mood. Everything depends on your energy. Everything depends on your availability. Everything depends on your current season of life. And let's be honest, guys, if your effectiveness as a coach or as a mentor drops the moment you're tired, then your system was never strong. You were just the strong person. I'll say it again. If your effectiveness drops the moment you are tired, then the system you think you've got was never strong. You were the strong person. And guess what? Strong people eventually get tired. The day the coach is tired, then the system collapses. Not because the coach or the mentor is weak, but because the work was never designed to outlive the coach's energy. And this is where a lot of parents make mistakes. You're not parenting your child for when you are around. You are parenting your child for when you're not going to be with your child. So your report card as a parent, as an educator, as a coach, as a mentor, as a youth pastor is not when they are around you. It is when they are independent and they can live life without your supervision. That is when you have your report card. Please don't be offended by my passion. I'm a passionate speaker. Don't mind me. But are you getting value for your time? I need some feedback. I love what I'm seeing in the comments. I love what I'm seeing in the comments. Good. Thank you. So I said that the system crumbles when the work was not designed. When the work you're doing is not designed to outlive your energy as a coach, as a mentor, as a parent, then everything will crumble. And that is not a sustainable way to work with developing minds. Guess what? We are dealing with one of the most interesting phase of life. I always describe the adolescent stage as a turbulent stage in the life of an individual. It's sort of like the third mainland bridge. That's the most chaotic, that's the place where you can have the most chaotic traffic jam in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. Because the third mainland bridge links the mainland to the island. Do you see that? So the adolescent phase of life links the childhood phase to the adulthood phase. So it's a whole lot of brain development going on. It's a whole lot of physical changes, emotional changes, psychosocial changes happening right there. A lot of things to unpack. So there've got to be a formidable system. Because when you don't have that, then you're not creating a sustainable way to work with developing minds. And guess what? Read my lips, guys. Teenagers are not experiments. Teenagers are not what? They are not experiments. Teenagers are forming identities. They are testing boundaries. And they are learning what stability looks like. So what you model becomes their reference point. It becomes a reference point of possibility for them, or a reference point for impossibility for them. I've got a lot of young people around me who will say, oh, because Uncle Kpe, I've not seen Uncle Kpe do this, I can't do it. Oh, this is how Uncle Kpe will act, and I'm going to do that. Some of them try to dress like I do, act like I do, talk like I do. And this is why structure is not restrictive. Structure is protective. Like I said, there's just a thin line between what you're doing and jail. Honestly, if you don't have structure, like my people will say where I'm from, and one straight. Especially in this, if now I've got wealth of experience. I've not just mentored African teenagers, I've mentored, and I'm mentoring Caucasians too. So that's a whole lot of experience right there. There has to be structure. A Nigerian clients may not even mind structure, they just want to see results. But white, they want to see everything spelled out. So let's examine you, the coach, before we talk about the teenager or the young people you're mentoring. So let's just take let's just go a little bit deeper, okay? And whew, I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot to say, but I'll say it like this because what I what I want to say right now is the point where people become uncomfortable, and it is not because what I want to say is harsh, but because it is honest. And I'll say it gently so that it can stick to your mind. You cannot sustainably guide young people beyond the level of your own formation. In the words of Miles Monroe, write it down 10 times. I'll say it again. You cannot sustainably guide young people beyond the level of your own formation. In the voice of my friend, Apostle Femi Lazarus, sorry guys. I'll say it again because I want you to write it 10 times. You cannot sustainably guide young people beyond the level of your own formation. Not your calling, not your passion, not your experience, your formation. Your formation. You can't give, is not now, the normal balance we know is you can't give what you don't have. This one is not what you don't have. You can only give of who you are. You can only give of yourself, not just what you have now, because you are giving you. Do you see that now? So formation is not what you know. So I'm not talking about what you know. Anybody can sit down and digest Uncle Bear's resources or go just do some Google work and all of that, right? Formation is not what you know. Formation is how you show up when things are not going well. Remember, you're dealing with chaotic phase of life. Teenagers don't just learn from what you teach. They learn from how you respond to situations. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of scenarios, right? So let's look at emotional regulation as an example. A teenager says something disrespectful in a group session. Maybe you're a youth pastor in Canada or in the US or even in the UK, and you have a group session with a bunch of 20, 21-year-olds, right? And a teenager or a young person just says something disrespectful in that session. What he said may not be violent or outrageous. It's just dismissive, just to dismiss you. Maybe you're dealing with a set of Caucasian and you're a black person and saying, who is this guy? Now, let me give you a real example. This happened to me. I was with a group of young adults in their 20s, and these guys are Caucasians. Normal session, nothing chaotic. And at some point, because I was drilling them to do certain activities, right? And one of them just muttered, loud enough to be heard. He used the F word on me. He was like, F this guy. Now, in that moment, a lot happens internally. Your body reacts as an African man. Your ego reacts because that situation makes your authority feels challenged, sort of. And this is where formation shows up. You see what I'm talking about? Now, what I did in that situation was I paused. No drama, no razzle, no dazzle, no razzmatazz. But I paused long enough. Then I responded calmly. And I told him, I heard that. I heard what you just said. And in this space, we are not going to speak to people like that here. And that was it. No lecture, no embarrassment, no power struggle. And I continued with my session. Okay, I continued with my session. Afterwards, I spoke with this guy privately. And now, when I asked him to see me in my office, I did not do that to shame him. I just did that to understand him. And what mattered most wasn't that he used the bad language. It was what the room learned in that moment. I was reinforcing something. They learned that boundaries don't change because emotions rise. Do you see? They learn that authority does not need to be loud to be real. They learn that the space that I am in charge of is stable. Because if I had reacted emotionally, you used F word, and I lost my cool also, they would have learned something else entirely. Same moment, different lesson, and that's formation for you. That is formation for you. That is formation for you guys. So, two coaches can hear the same sentence and produce two very different outcomes. So, for my folks in the UK, in Canada, and in the US, you may not understand this name. So, I'm going to use some couple of funny names, right? So, let's say the first coach is Coach Ajale Koko. I love that name a lot. Then, let me use a cute name. Then, the second coach, let us give the second coach Coach Beauty, for instance. So that same scenario that I painted for you guys, Coach Ajanle Koko reacts immediately. Then he sharpens his tone, he raises his voice, then he starts to shake his body because he is angry. Then his body language tightens up. Then his authority becomes defensive. But Coach Beauty, like Uncle Pet did, we just pause for a while. And we'll now name that behavior calmly. One of the skills that you must master as someone working with youth is your ability to label behavior correctly and calmly, not emotionally, not reactively. You must be able to name and label behavior that these guys exhibit correctly. You must be able to do that. You must be able to reassert boundary without embarrassment or anger. You don't want to lose your mentee. You don't want to lose your teenager. You don't want to do that. You don't want to lose your child. Now, guess what? The coach who reacted harshly, who reacted immediately, and the one who was able to name the behavior calmly, the one who was able to reassert that boundary without anger, they both care for the child. They both care for the teenager. They both care for the youth. But only one of them is formed. Do you see the concept of formation now? Now, guess what? Teenagers or young people are always watching this moment. They are always watching this moment. Not because they want to provoke you, but because they are learning. They are learning. They are asking, what happens when I cross a line? And see, you need to study when. So after this session is a free session. We have a 6-month. I'm going to talk about it at the end of this session. We have a 6-month intensive mentorship class for professionals in this space. 6 months, and these are some of the things we'll be unpacking. We're going to talk about behavioral modification. How can you identify and label behaviors correctly? How do you reinforce behavior? All right. If someone is rude to you, your actions and inaction can actually reinforce that bad behavior. And guess what? Behaviors are learned and they can be unlearned. So teenagers are asking, what happens when I cross a line? What will Uncle Pet do? Now, let me look for somebody's name. The Global Praise. What will Miss Global Praise do when I cross the line? They are actually checking. So if your emotional state decides the outcome, then the lesson becomes unpredictable. And guess what? That unpredictability is not neutral. What it does is it teaches anxiety. And these guys are already anxious. It's a chaotic stage of development of life. Remember. So you don't want to teach anxiety. You don't want to make them anxious when they are around you. You want them to feel safe with you. So I'll give another scenario, right? Because we're talking about formation. I've talked about emotional regulation. Now let's look at the area of boundaries and over-identification, because that's another common situation that a lot of people working with young folks would find themselves. Let's say a coach becomes very close to a teenager, for instance. They talk often. You become the safe space or the safe person for that teenager. Now, on the surface, it looks beautiful. I made this mistake the first 2 years of my work. It looks beautiful, but slowly the boundaries begin to get blurry. Like they say, everywhere first blur. The boundaries get blurred, right? Expectations begin to increase. Then this is where the danger now lies. Emotional dependency now begins to form. Do you see now? You as the coach, you begin to feel like you are indispensable. Then the teenager begins to feel like he or she is entitled to access. Neither of you planned it. Neither of you intended any kind of harm. And guess what? It is also not a morality problem. I'm checking for responses in the comment box. It is also not a morality problem. It is a formation problem. It is a formation problem. And without clear internal boundaries, your care, your passion, your concern becomes over-involvement. You must watch out for these guys. Without clear internal boundaries, your care, your passion, your concern, your love becomes over-involvement. And over-involvement eventually leads to exhaustion, resentment, or even inappropriate dynamics. We've got youth pastors who abuse their members. We've got teen coaches who emotionally or even physically or sexually harass their mentees because of this issue. Now, what formation does to you is that it teaches you how to be present without being consumed. Remember the story of Moses when he was in the bush and he saw the bush burning and the bush was not consumed. That is formation. It teaches you how to be present without being consumed. And of course, I'm going to tie it with an experience that I had in respect to this. I have plenty of experience. My first 2 years were very, very, very funny. I'm thinking of the appropriate experience to share now. Okay, let me share this one. I once worked with a teenager who was very responsive to me, engaged, talkative, always want to stay back after sessions. At first it felt, encouraging. You tell yourself as a coach, this is good. At least someone is opening up to me. So conversations extended, messages became more frequent. And I now became that person this teenager wanted to talk to. You should talk to me about everything. Now, again, nothing inappropriate. Just want to express, cannot talk to daddy, cannot talk to mommy. I can always call Uncle Kpe. I can always talk to Uncle Kpe. Now, nothing obvious, but slowly, something began to shift. Slowly, something shifted actually. If I wasn't available, the teenager became withdrawn. If I wasn't available, the teenager became withdrawn. If I responded later than usual, this teenager will take it personally. Now, if another adult corrected this teenager will resist. Now, what was happening was not rebellion. It was over-attachment. This teenager began to become over-attached to me. And here is the uncomfortable part of the story. I did not create that over-attachment because I lacked care. I created it because I lacked clear boundaries at the beginning. Do you see the problem now? I had not defined the limits of my role early enough. So the relationship expanded to fill the emotional space that was available. And at some point, I had to pause and ask myself a difficult question. See, am I helping this individual grow, or am I becoming the center of this individual's stability? And the question I just asked now, the question I raised now, it is very important that you always check and ask yourself that question. Because the goal of your work as a youth pastor, as a mentor, as a youth coach or a teen coach is not to make young people need you. It is to help them become stable without you. Remember, I said that your report card is not when you're with them. It is when you're not with them that you get your report card. So I adjusted my system. I adjusted my approach and my tactics. I had to clarify expectations. I had to redirect some conversations to appropriate channels. I had to make sure that other adults were also involved. And nothing dramatic. In my words, no razzle, no dazzle, no razzmatazz, just structure. Somebody say structure. Put it in the comment box. Say structure, structure, structure. If I don't see 15 structure in the comments, I'm not moving on. Structure, structure, structure. Good, 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 good. Thank you. Good. All right. So when I put the structure in place, something interesting happened. And that interesting thing that happened, the teenager did not fall apart. The teenager only adjusted. Because guess what? Guess what, guys? Now listen close. Teenagers don't need unlimited access to you. Teenagers don't need unlimited access to you. What they need is clear roles. I could remember a situation that happened. My wife she assumed that she was mentoring this young girl. And I was laughing because I knew this thing will land for trouble. She just assumed because each time, I was actually mentoring this person at some point, but I saw that no, she's not my mentee. All right. So my wife sort of picked it up, and she picked it up out of assumption, thinking that, oh, this girl should know that I'm a mentor to her, or I'm a mentor. This popular saying by favorite artist of mine. They play. They play. No clear rules. So one of those days, this young lady was in town and my wife was not aware. And my wife wanted to lose her cool. I'm like, take a chill pill. You're not a mentor. You're not important to her. All right. So when you put all these structures in place, it saves your emotional energy also. You are not expecting something from somewhere you shouldn't put your expectation on. Do you see that now? So teenagers don't need unlimited access. They need clear roles. What they experience as care is not proximity, it is reliability. It is reliability. What they experience as care is not proximity, it is reliability. And this is the lesson, guys. When boundaries are unclear, the care you have, the love you share, all right, the passion you give turns into dependency. And when dependency forms, guess what follows? Burnout. Burnout. Not burnout boy, burnout. And this is not because the teenager is demanding, all right? It is because the system that you've got was never designed properly. And that's not a heart issue. That is still a formation issue. Somebody say formation. Formation. So I want you to take a moment right now. Take a moment. Think about one young person you feel especially responsible for. Look into your circle, right? Look into your space right now. Think about one young person, one teenager, maybe your child, that you feel you're so responsible for. Now, ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. Have I clearly defined my role in this relationship, or have I allowed it to grow based on emotion? I'll put it in the comment. Tony, just help me pin it. I'll send it to you right away. Just let me pin it. It's a question I want you to think about. I want you to think about it, guys. Oh, sorry, I sent it. Let me put it here. Have I clearly defined my role in this relationship, or have I allowed it to grow based on emotion? I want you to think about it. Remember, you're thinking about that teenager that you feel you're responsible for. That teenager that you feel you're responsible for. And I'm not going to explain. I just want you to think. I'm expecting the comment. Good. Okay, thank you. Can you help me pin it? Good. Thank you. Now, let me be clear. Let me be clear. Boundaries are not the opposite of care. So when we're talking about boundaries, we are not saying you don't care about these people. It is not the opposite of care. Boundaries are what allow your care. Boundaries are what allow your passion, your love, your drive to last. Teenagers, Mrs. O, I need you to capture this moment. I need you to capture this moment. I want to drop one. It just dropped in my mind now, and this is a very solid moment, right? So I said, don't mind me. I can be very vain sometimes. Boundaries are not the opposite of care. Boundaries are not the opposite of love. Boundaries are not the opposite of the passion you carry. Boundaries are not the opposite of the drive you're working with. Boundaries are what allow the care that you have, allow the love you have for the work and for the people, allow the passion you're working with to last. Now, this is the bomb I want to drop. Teenagers don't need adults who are always available. They need adults who are consistently appropriate. Let it sink. Let it sink. I'll say it again. Teenagers don't need adults who are always available. You can be physically available, yet you're not present. What teenagers need, what young people need, are adults who are consistently appropriate. I have some teenagers, some mentees who don't get to see me all the time, but they know all I need to do is to call on Kokpe. That's what I need. All I need, I have parents as clients that they know all I need to do is to reach out to this guy. And you see that clarity of what I just said is part of formation. So I'll say it again. Teenagers don't need adults who are always available. This is the reason why some of you are burnt out. You are always available. You are everywhere. So you've even lost value. They don't even regard your presence. Because one of the things that will help you in this work is the value that these young people place on your presence. My teenagers know that it is a privilege, a rare one, that they have to talk to Uncle Okpe. They know that. So when I'm talking to them, they don't joke with it. Do you see that? So that's part of formation. Thank you, Mrs. O. Now, we've looked at emotional regulation. We've looked at boundary. The third scenario that we'll look at in talking about formation is, now because I group all these things in my schema according to the common problems that people face in this line of work. So let's talk about consistency under pressure. Let's talk about consistency under pressure, right? As a coach, I know you have rules, but enforcement depends on how busy the week has been, because your life is also busy, right? When life is calm, then the rules matter, but when life is heavy, you soften the rules, right? Guess what? Teenagers notice all these things. And please, whilst the session is going on, we have a WhatsApp channel. Like I said at the beginning of the session, a lot of resources are coming your way. But my interest right now is just for folks who wants to do this work professionally, or folks who are professionals in this work already. So please, the link is in the comments box. Click it and join the WhatsApp channel so that you can have our engagement can be way more effective and smoother, right? So I said, when you soften rules, when you're not consistent with your rules, teenagers, they notice that. And when they notice, they don't notice consciously, they notice it behaviorally. Very funny set of humans. They begin to test, is this rule real or is it seasonal? Maybe this thing, maybe you just enter once. This thing, no be, let's test it. Is this who he is? Or maybe it's just once in a while. And again, this is not rebellion. That's where people miss it. That's where adults miss it. They just label it rebellion. Oh, he rebelled. No. They're simply learning. They are learning if consistency depends on your capacity. So, let me, I want to flip the coin to the other side. So if consistency depends on your capacity, then your system is teaching instability. If your consistency depends on your own capacity, and I will explain, then your system is teaching instability, because your capacity is deeply rooted in your emotions, is rooted in how you respond to life situation. Do you see? And that can fluctuate. So your consistency had to be dependent on your system. It has to be systemic, not personal. And there's a science to that. There's a science, and that's why you can't afford to miss the 6-month intensive coaching mentorship program that we have. It is intensive, guys, intensive. And I'm not the only one doing it. We have faculty. We have some set of faculty that are coming on board. Of course, my wife is on board. That's Mrs. Adora Iguma. Man, that's a great coach right there. We have Pastor Miracle Femi Lazarus. She's a therapist. She's just a lot of things in one person. We have Dr. Abraham Owosheni coming on board. We have Coach Wendy coming on board. And I will not mention the last person, but if you know me too well, you know the last person, but I won't mention his name. The person is a man, but I will not mention his name. So you can guess. And that's why it is premium. It is premium. It is not free. This one that I am pouring like this. So if the free of charge is like this, imagine how the 6-month intensive journey is going to look like. It's going to be personal, back to back. 6 months, guys. 6 months. So I said, if consistency, that was where I stopped, right? If consistency depends on your capacity, then your system teaches instability. Now, formation is what then now allows you to be consistent even when you're tired. There are several times that I'm tired, but you wouldn't know that I'm tired. You won't know. In fact, not until I started explaining certain things to some of my teenagers, they were like, you seem to just have everything all in place. That's formation, guys. That's formation. So I'm going to ask you another question that I want you to reflect on. I want you to reflect on this. Think about the last time you felt unsettled. Now we are getting to the midway of our session today. Think about the last time you felt unsettled. Think about the last time you felt irritated. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed while working with young people. Think about it. Now, I'm not asking you to judge it though. I'm just asking you to notice it. Just think about it. Okay? So the next thing you will do is just ask yourself this question, because it's reflection time, right? What part of me was being tested in that moment? And I'll give you some few moments to reflect. All right. That time, that incident, that occasion, that event that made you feel unsettled, made you feel irritated, or even overwhelmed whilst you're working with the young people assigned to you. What part of you was being tested in that moment? Just think about it. Write it in your journal. Write it down. Write it down. And I'm going to just take a water break as you're doing that. Write it down. Write it down. Good. Not in the comments box or in your journal. Good. Good. All right. Now, when you ask yourself, what part of me was being tested in the moment when I felt overwhelmed, irritated, that question matters more than fixing the teenager. Yep. As a parent, your child did something and you feel so irritated. You see that moment, that situation is testing a part of you. And you must be able to answer it. See, one thing that will help you in this line of work is your ability to ask yourself quality questions. See, there's a session in the mentorship program. We'll just deal with questions. And I'm not talking about the question you will ask me or the question I will ask you. Questions as part of a system. Questions. Because you must ask yourself questions. That's how you can reflect properly. So I'm going to give you a burnout example. And this particular example did not start with exhaustion, right? It started with commitment. And all these examples are, the mistakes that I made in the early stages of my work. I was working, and by the way, if you don't know, I worked in this space without doing any other thing else for 10 years straight. The first time I did a paid work outside teens development space was in 2022. All my life, just pouring myself into young people. So I did it as a full-time job. Like the way everybody will wake up in the morning and go to bank. That was my job. So I was working full-time with families, with young people, reconciling parents to their children, helping children become fully functional and all of that. So my sessions were regular. Engagement was good. My results were visible. Parents were happy. If you go to my Facebook, 2016, 2015, 2013, I was always putting some of the results we garnered at that time. Parents were happy. Teenagers were even responding. Now, from the outside, it looked like things were working. But slowly, something shifted in me. Maybe what I just described is where one of you is at the moment. I began to feel irritated by small things. I began to question things that used to make sense to me. Questions that used to feel meaningful started to feel repetitive to me. I noticed myself preparing sessions with less curiosity. I just want to do it. Let's just do it and get out. All right. Nothing alarming, nothing dramatic, just a quiet change in posture. It's just that, you may just feel uncomfortable, but if that is you, just put it in the chat box. Just say, this is me. This is me. All right. If you're comfortable, all right. If you're comfortable, if you're not, it's fine. So in that phase of my life, in that phase of my work, I just told myself, see, I'm just tired and this will pass. But guess what? It did not pass. It didn't. What I did not realize at the time was the fact that the work that I was doing had begun to depend too much on me. I was the planner. I was the emotional regulator. I was the problem solver. I was the consistent presence. It's just onkope, 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 onkope. There was no structure absorbing the load. There was no shared system holding responsibility. So every gap fell back on my energy. And the moment that clarified it for me was, one particular day, a session was cancelled unexpectedly, and I had spent money. Then I was staying in Agege, and my session was on the island in Lekki, to be precise. No, this was in Ikoyi, and I just got there, and I was told they traveled for vacation, and the parent didn't inform me. And instead of relief that, oh, at least the session is cancelled, I felt resentment. And that's when I knew something was wrong. This is not me. Not because I hated the work, but because the work had quietly consumed more than it was meant to. And burnout didn't show up as collapse. Not that I just fainted on the road. That's not burnout. It showed up as narrowing, right? I became less patient, less curious, less generous. And the key point is, the young people I'm mentoring, or I was mentoring at the point, they have not changed. The environment did not change. What the problem was at the time was the design, the system. So let me quickly explain what was going on beneath the surface to you guys. You see, burnout is not simply emotional fatigue. All right? Burnout is prolonged exposure to responsibility without adequate structure. You see that I'm still talking about structure, right? So when everything flows through one person, when every decisions, emotional regulation, discipline, encouragement, continuity flows through one person, then that person becomes the system. And no human being can function as a system for long. You might hold it together for months, sometimes even years, but eventually the cost shows up. Not as failure, but as erosion. You know erosion now. And this is why burnout often surprises people. They didn't stop caring. They didn't stop loving the youth that is under their care. They still do what they are doing. They just ran out of what I call internal margin. Internal margin. If you're here with me, say I am here. Say I'm here. Type it in a comment. Say I am here. I am here. We've spent about 1 hour plus already. 1 hour 5 minutes. 1 hour 5 minutes. And this is for 120 minutes. We're going to leave space for question and answer. Okay? Good. I can see you. Tani Komo, Tayodari, I see you guys. Yinka Salako, I see you. I'm still waiting for the rest. Oh, Yinka Salako, that's Bishop. Oh. Bishop, yeah. That's my guy at the top. So, let's look at why all of this matters to youth work. And this is the uncomfortable truth. When you as a coach, or you as a mentor, or you as a parent, when you burn out, teenagers don't experience it as burnout. Hey, how do I explain this? So I want to use a different scenario to explain it. So, okay, don't worry. When you burn out, you know that I'm tired. I am stressed. This is a burnout. You recognize it. But the teenagers at the receiving end, they don't experience it as burnout. They experience it, they are viewing it from a different lens. They experience it as emotional withdrawal. They experience it as irritability. They experience it as inconsistent. Like, what's wrong with this woman? What's wrong with this man? Why are you so inconsistent? They experience it as reduced availability. Why is this person not available? Why is this person inconsistent? You said this last time, you're doing this right now. Why are you giving me attitude? From their perspective, from their lens, you, the adults, you've changed. And guess what again? That becomes part of their learning. Because in social cognitive theory, as a psychologist, there's a concept called modeling. That whatever you do is a sort of a model for them. So from their perspective, you've changed, and that change has become part of what they've learned. And this is not necessarily because you want it to happen or because you meant it, but it happens because the systems teach even when you are silent. I'll say that again. The systems that you create, they teach your teenagers, they teach your youth, they teach your children, even when you're not saying anything. Yeah, let that sink. Let that sink. I'm going to create a lot of time for question and answer. Okay, so I think I should wrap up. Should we end it here, or should we go deeper? Someone say go deeper, Papa. Just kidding, guys. Don't mind me. Should we go deeper? I'm waiting for engagement in the comments. Should we go deeper? I will start to tie this up. Okay. Got you. My wife. My wife is my ginger. It was a comment I was waiting for since. Mrs. O. All right. Now, let us take a chill pill now. I want you to think again. All right. So think about part of your work with young people. Maybe you're a parent, for instance. Think about the aspect of your relationship with your children. Or maybe you're a youth pastor, the aspect of your work with young people, with teenagers that feel really heavy right now. Think about it. Now, I'm not talking about the part that frustrates you. I'm talking about the part that drains you. There's a difference between frustration and drainage. Like you enter a space, you feel empty. Like you're not there. That's you being drained. You don't just have the energy to do anything. That's what I want you to think about. Now, the question I want you to ask yourself is this: is this draining because it is difficult or because it is unstructured? Is this part of my work draining because it is difficult or because it is unstructured? Now, that question is important. I'll give you time to also think about it. Spend time thinking about it. Reason being that question changes how people think about burnout. It changes how you think about burnout. Okay, so is this part of my work draining me, or is it draining because it is difficult or because it is unstructured? So think. Let me take another water break. Think. Woo! Awesome. Think. It's a class. Solid one. Good. So let me say this to you clearly. I expect that you would have written one or two things. Now, burnout is not always a sign that you are doing too much. Burnout is a sign that you are doing unclear work for too long. I need you to pin that. Oh, Mrs. O, I wish you are here. These are some Kairos moments right here now. So I'll say it again. Burnout is not always a sign that you're doing too much as a coach or as a parent or as an educator. Often, burnout is a sign that you're doing unclear work for too long. You're working without boundaries. You're working without shared responsibilities. You're working without structure. And you see, sustainable youth work is built on endurance, it is built on design. The design that we are talking about is the one that protects the young person. And that design also protects the adults too. So it's a two-way operational phase. That design protects the young person, the teenager, the child in question, and also goes to protect you. You may not really appreciate what I'm saying if you work predominantly in Nigeria, for instance. But I believe for everyone on this platform, you want to take your work to the global stage where you work with different children, different kinds of children from different backgrounds, different races, right? If there's no design, I'm saying it again, it's just a thin line between what you're doing now and going to jail. So let me end all this scenario with a proper clarity. If your work collapses the moment you step back, then the work was never sustainable. You were the one that was sustaining the whole thing. And sustainability that depends on one person's strength is not sustainability at all. You see, now teenagers deserve adults who will still be present 5 years from now. That's why I can do this. I've been doing this for like 15 years and I'm still here. And adults also deserve systems that allow them to last. And what we are talking about is not weakness, it is wisdom. Wisdom, long bikini. I just spoke in tongues for my non-Yoruba speaking people, right? Wisdom. So let's talk about why formation matters more than technique. Why formation matters more than technique. Wow, are you getting something at all? Good. I want to see some feedback in the chat. Let's drop some things there. Are you getting some gems here? I'm waiting for your comment. Oh. I'm following. I'm waiting for your comments, guys. I want to be sure you guys are with me. Good. That's my wife. Okay, Tayo is with me. Mr. Inka is with me. Favor is with me. But we have more people. I want the comments to be commenting. My goodness. I'm just joking with the Papa stuff. Oh, please don't call me Papa or Tayo. Biko, I'm not Papa. I beg. These are labels you don't want to throw around when you're working with young people. You don't want teenagers to feel you are very old. They won't listen to you. Nah. You don't want that. They're already giving you the vibe that, oh, you don't understand our culture, you don't understand our terrain, you don't understand what is going on. So then you now want to be doing like an old man. Nah, you miss them. You miss them. So let's look at why formation matters more than technique. You see, most people come to coaching spaces asking for tools. Uncle Pe, I need this. Do you have any resources that will help me do this, that will help me do that? How do I communicate better? How do I manage behavior? How do I motivate my teenagers? Now, those are valid questions. All right. Those are valid questions. But you see, something about tools is that tools only work when the person using them is stable. Tools only work when the person using them is what? Stable. An unformed person, Mrs. O, I need you. This is a light bulb moment, even for me. So I'm going to try to repeat myself. All right. So if you did not take note of what I've said before, you have a second chance now. So we are looking at the importance of formation over technique, right? And I said that, most people come to me, they ask me, how do I communicate with my teenagers better? How do I manage behavior properly? How do I motivate my teenagers? And I said, all of those stuff are valid questions, actually. But you must know that tools only work when the person using them is what? Stable. Because an unformed person with good tools becomes rigid. I'll say it again. An unformed person, an unformed coach, an unformed youth pastor, an unformed parent with good tools will just become rigid, like robots. A lot of teenagers says, my dad just operate like a robot, like a computer, straightforward. An unformed person with empathy becomes inconsistent. Although you've got empathy, but you're not fully formed. So you're not going to be inconsistent because life is going to throw you some lemons. An unformed person with authority becomes controlling. It's either my way or the highway. So what formation does is it integrates knowledge, emotion, behavior, and ethics. It's like when you are making jollof rice. Imagine you eating raw rice alone, or imagine you eating tomato paste or eating pepper alone. So formation integrates the rice, the Maggi, the chicken broth, all the ingredients that gives us jollof rice. Put it together and you have a very smoky party jollof rice, like my wife's jollof rice. So formation integrates knowledge, emotion, behavior, ethics. See, without formation, guys, your strength will work against you. That is the point I am dropping. Without formation, your strength will work against you. You have authority, you have some empathy on your child, you've got some good tools that you're using in your arsenal. It is still going to work against you. Did you get that? So the real risk nobody talks about, we rarely say it out loud. And I'll say it to you. Teenagers don't experience our intentions. They experience our patterns. Teenagers don't experience our intentions. They experience our patterns. And you see, patterns come from formation. That's what we are saying. Patterns come from formation. If your pattern is emotional volatility, for instance, if your pattern is blood boundaries, all right, or inconsistent enforcement of rules, if your own pattern is over-identification, like I said earlier, teenagers internalize that as normal. Oh, it's a normal thing. This is how it should be done, right? Not because you taught it, but because you lived it. And this is why coaching the coach exists, guys. This is why coaching the coach exists, because the real work is not changing teenagers. The real work is stabilizing the adult who influences them. All right. So if you're comfortable enough, you can write this down privately. All right. Because we're going to be reflecting a lot. Write this down. What part of my current approach with young people depends too much on my personality and not enough on structure? What part of my current approach with young people depends too much on my personality and not enough on structure? And I'm glad this is a virtual program, so nobody's seeing what you're writing. Nobody's seeing what you're writing. I don't know if Tony is here with me. All right. So whilst you're thinking about that, I want can we share the video now, Tony? Right. Because I want them to sort of think about that, and I want the video to come up. Can we have the video,
You
please?
see, most people doing meaningful work are not failing because they don't care. They are actually failing because they don't have anyone to help them grow properly. Passion is there, impact is there, but growth, clarity, structure, sustainability, that is what is missing. And that is where many people struggle. I want you to know that long lasting impact is not built on motivation alone. It is built on what I call formation. Formation takes time. It takes reflection. It takes intentional guidance. And that's why in March, I'm opening up a 6 month paid mentorship program for professionals in the teens, youth, education, and human development space. This is not a course. This is not a branding class. This is not a quick fix class. This is for individuals who are interested in going the long haul in this space. Now, the details of this mentorship program is in the caption and is in the link that is in the caption or in my bio. Click the link for more. I can't wait to see you in class. Register now.
All right. So, for everyone who is on this free call right now, there's an early bird opportunity for you. Like I said, it's 6 months program, intensive program. I've given you some of the confirmed faculty that we have. We have Coach Wendy on board. We have Mrs. O, my wife, on board. We have Pastor Miracle Femi Lazarus on board. We have Dr. Ibrahim Owosheni on board. And we have one surprise faculty on board. I won't mention his name, but somebody that you all know. All right. So it is a paid one, 6 months intensive mentorship. Intensive. You've never seen anything like that. Trust me, you've never. You will have access to tools that you've never seen in this space. You have access to wealth of experience. See, some people even have this question: how do I do this work to the point that it now becomes sustainable? Do you know I've made money from this work too? You can. You can actually. You can. There's a body of work around it, right? So, for 6 months, the program costs 1,500. But because you're part of this training, there's a discount for you. It's going to be 1,200, right? And um, I don't know. Now, this is part that is not clear to me, and I want Mrs. O to help me out with that. So the link is right in the chat box, where you can subscribe to that. We are starting in March, so you have to just register because it's limited space. I don't want crowd, right? I've been doing it quietly, and we're taking it to another level. So jump in, because the early bird, this link will only be open for a week. All right. Um, and okay, I'll put it out. I'll put it out for I'll put it out next Wednesday, right? So that we can shut it down on Friday. So if you're on this platform right now and you're seeing this information, this is your opportunity to jump on it. Now, what I don't know, if people who are subscribing to the early bird option would have the opportunity to also pay monthly, right? But I know that people who are joining for regular, which is 1,500, would pay instrumental, can pay in installments, which is $275 per month. Oh, I'm in Nigeria, Nkokpe. How should I pay in dollars? Now, the platform we are using will just convert the money to your local currency. Oh, but I don't have money. This is a school for you. This will help you build structure. This will help you get more money. Invest. This is an investment. And the greatest investment is the one you do to your mind. Trust me. Trust me. From this same work, you can build something sustainable. All right. Okay. I think there's a monthly payment plan even for people who are leveraging on the early bird. I'm not sure, but I know that early bird is 1,200 US dollars, and the full program itself, if you miss the early bird window, it is $1,500 for 6 months. for 6 months. Imagine if the free version is like this. Imagine the juice you will get for 6 months. 6 months. Lord of Jesus. if you want to, I don't know, just invest. Okay, invest. We will look at coach identity and confidence, ethical and safe practices. We'll look at real life case discussions. There will be projects. You have access to practical coaching tools. We'll talk about, we'll look at some element of branding, how to reach out to young people on a global scale, not just you working in Nigeria. We also look at the topic of sustainability too. All right, so all of these things mixed together. Okay, so please, the link is right there. It's been pinned to the chat box, so leverage on it and don't miss it. All right. Now, if you come to me and say, Dr. Kwe, that's after a week now that the heaven has shut down, you now say you want to register. No, the link is available. We are opening the windows of heaven just for a week. After 1 week, we are shutting the early bird window down for regular access. All right, so let me just close the section for formation that I was talking about. All right, so you must know that you do not need to be perfect. All right, you don't have to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. All right, you do not need to be emotionally flat. Also, you don't need to have all the answers. All right, but one thing that you must have, one thing that you need is to be formed, to be formed, to be formed, to be formed. And the reason being that teenagers deserve adults who are emotionally regulated, who are ethically grounded, who are structurally consistent, and who are relationally clear. That's what formation is about. Emotional regulation, ethical grounding, consistent structure, and clear boundaries. All right. So teenagers deserve adults who are all of those things together, because formation is not about you being impressive. You're not trying to impress them. Formation is about being reliable. And reliability is what changes lives. Reliability is what changes lives. Now let's do another form of reflection again. All right. I want you uh to think about this. Okay, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, because it's sort of similar to the reflection you've done before, but it is important that we emphasize these things so that we are conscious of them. Okay, what part of your work with young people depends entirely on your energy? What part of your work with young people depends entirely on your energy? Let me pull that question so that you can, for people who didn't, let me just put it in the chat here. Oh, this is the second one. What part of your work with young people depends entirely on your energy? And what happens to that part of work when you're tired? Yeah. What part of your work depends entirely on your energy? And what happens to that work when you're tired? Think about it. Think about it, guys. Now, the question that I ask is not meant to accuse you. I'm not the accuser of brethren. Trust me, I'm not. It is meant to reveal something. This is a revelation class, okay? It is meant to reveal something, right? And the revelation is this: where your energy is the system, then sustainability will always be fragile. Although that is not failure, that is information. So don't feel like you failed already. That, oh, this work is not sustainable yet. That feeling that you're getting is not failure. It's just a feedback. It's just an information. Okay. So as we wrap up, as we begin to wrap up, this is 1:30 my time, and it is one. So we have 30 more minutes to wrap this up. Okay. So let's see what we can do. Are we ready for the final deep? Are we ready for the final lap of the journey? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? I want to see it in the comments. Are we ready for this? Are we ready for this? So as we wrap it up, you see, in the full coaching, the coach journey, in the full program, should I give you guys this one? This one is for the 6 month, but let me just bring it. Everything rests on 3 pillars. Everything rests on 3 pillars, and I will name them. What I'll just do is, yes, I will name them tonight, but I won't complete them. Okay. So during the long 6 months mentorship program, we'll look at it comprehensively and exhaustively, right? We'll exhaust everything. Okay. Now, the reason why we only name them is not because they are secret, but because they actually require time, they require practice, and they also require accountability. So that's why we'll just do the naming. We'll do the naming ceremony today. Okay. And anything that can be grasped in one sitting is usually too shallow to shape a life. Trust me. If you think this session is all you need to run in this space, no, you're joking. This session, this 2-hour session, is too shallow to shape a life. Trust me. Trust me. So these 3 ideas that I'm talking about, not ideas now, they are pillars. These 3 pillars are not ideas. I call them load-bearing structures. Load-bearing structures. Because if one is missing, then your entire work becomes fragile. If one is missing, the entire work becomes fragile. So let's look at the first pillar. The first pillar is identity before intervention. Identity before intervention. Now, for folks who are now away from this call right now, they are missing the bottom part of the jollof rice, which is the sweetest part. I'm about to just, the naming alone would help you. So don't snooze. Don't snooze. You snooze, you lose. Okay? Good. How do I go about this? But I will start here because this is always where the work actually begins. So I'll start from this angle. If you don't know who you are in this space, if you don't know who you are whilst you're working with young people, teenagers, young adults will decide it for you. They will test boundaries. They will do it consciously and unconsciously. Not because they want to disrupt you, but because they are trying to understand the rules of engagement. See, every teenager asks the same unspoken questions. Who are you to me? How much authority do you actually have? They are asking, what happens if I push back? What happens when I push back? Not if, because they will actually push back. What happens when I push back? They are asking, is this person consistent or just situational? Let me put the questions just to help you with your notes, right? Excuse me. So they are asking these same unspoken questions. Who is this person to me? Who do you think you are? How much authority are you my father? Are you my mom? Who are you? Who are you? Those questions. Now, watch this. Read my lips. Identity confusion in the coach creates behavioral confusion in the teenager. Write it down. Identity, you see, all those unspoken questions are targeted towards your identity as the coach. So, identity confusion in the coach creates behavioral confusion in the teenager. If you're sometimes a friend, if you're sometimes a disciplinarian, if you're sometimes a rescuer, if you're sometimes distant, teenagers don't experience that as flexibility. They experience it as instability. So, I said all of those things to say this to you, that identity clarity precedes behavioral influence. So when you're clear about your identity, then you can influence your mentees, you can influence your teenagers, you can influence your children behaviorally. Before you correct behavior, teenagers are already asking, who is correcting me? Before you give guidance, they are asking, from what position are you speaking from? Right? From what position are you speaking from? When your identity is unclear, every intervention becomes a negotiation. So you now see parents negotiating with their children, or you see teen coaches No. When your identity is clear, boundaries feel less personal and more predictable. Oh, Dr. Pe does not like this. Oh, this is how you comport yourself. Oh, I can bank on him. I can share this with him. And this is not rigidity. It's about role clarity. And you see, role clarity in and of itself is deeply calming for developing minds. When everything is clear to them, then nobody is anxious. There's no anxiety in the air. So I want you to think again. It's a lot of reflection that we are doing in here, guys. Think about how teenagers currently experience you. Think about how teenagers currently experience you. Now, watch this. The question is, think about how teenagers currently experience you, not how you intend to show up. What I'm saying is, just think about from your own lens now, right? Put yourself in their shoe. Now, you do what we call role play. These teenagers, how do they experience me at the moment? Not how you intend, this is the ideal situation, this is what I should do. No. I'm talking about how you are experienced as a person, as an adult. Now, ask yourself this question. Is my role in their lives clear? Or does it shift depending on the situation? Oh, when things are good, I'm happy. When things are bad, I'm sad. Or I'm irritable. So the question is my role in their lives clear? Or does it shift depending on the situation? Let me put it for you. So think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Because that awareness alone changes how you coach, changes how you mentor. So let's look at the second pillar. This is 1:38 p.m. Let's move. Second pillar. The second pillar is what I call structure before strategy. Remember, I made mention of a law called the law of structure and flow, right? So structure before strategy. And this is where most people want to start. All right. They usually get it wrong. This is for starters. And because from the data, most people are already in between their first and third year working in this space, right? So maybe this is where you are at, right? Strategies are attractive because they feel productive, right? But let me tell you this, strategies are temporary. Yeah, strategies are temporary because culture shifts, trends evolve. There was a time. Now I see that stylish and fashionable men are now using what we call boot cuts. These enlarged pants now, right? Before it was pencil trouser that was raining, right? Now it has to be big trouser, like I don't know what they call it though, right? So culture shifts, trends evolve. Before it was Twitter that was raining. In fact, at a time, if you were not using a BlackBerry phone, you are not in vogue. Right now, if you're using BlackBerry right now, we got to ask you some questions. All right. So strategies are temporary. The language young people use changes. The platforms they use changes. We have Snapchat. There was a time we had to go. Some of you used to go. Where's to go now? Any young person using Facebook right now is regarded as being retarded, right? But we have Facebook. There was a time it was Facebook. There was a time it was Yahoo Messenger. Now we have X, we have Twitter, which is X now. We have Snapchat, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Twitch for streamers. Twitch. A lot. We have Tinder. A lot. So platforms change. What worked 3 years ago may not work now. And that's why you have to keep reinventing yourself. All right. So somebody asked me, why do you always, make progress with investing in your mind? It's because the people I work with, there's constant change in that area all the time. But guess what? Structure is what remains when the motivation fades, when all these changes happen. Structure answer questions that your teenagers that you're working with never ask you out loud. Structure is what answer the question of when does this start and when does it end. For instance, my wife was shocked when I said, you know what, we're not doing things hangout with Uncle Kwe anymore. She was like, are you kidding me? This is one of the biggest gathering of teenagers in Lagos. People come all the way from Abeokuta, from Badagry, from VI, from Lekki, from name it to Agege. But because there was a structure, so I knew I can gauge my impact. So when I'm mentoring a teenager, I know when I'm going to start and I know when I will end that engagement. Structure answer the question of what happens if I don't comply. Compliance issues. And in the perspective of teenagers, what your structure informs them is this space is solid. You can relax here. That is why there's no young person I've worked with that never felt safe. Oh, nah, I feel safe with this guy. Without structure, teenagers must constantly scan the environment for cues, and that's stressful. And when they are scanning for cues, that scanning looks like distraction. It looks like defiance. It looks like they are testing you. It looks like withdrawal sometimes. But what you must not label it as is rebellion. Is their nervous system asking, is this place stable? Is this place safe for me? Your structure reduces anxiety. And guess what? Anxious teenagers cannot learn. Anxious teenagers cannot reflect. Anxious teenagers cannot grow well. And that is why I said earlier that your structure is not restrictive. Your structure is a regulator. It regulates the behavior of your teenagers. It regulates their emotion, even yours. It regulates expectation. And it regulates you as the coach. It regulates you as the parent. It regulates you as the youth pastor. And let me try to create a scenario. You see, 2 youth spaces can teach the same content. One has clear starts and end times. We start at this time. I see you 3 times a week. from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Just an example, okay? Clear start, clear end times, consistent expectation. This is what we are doing today. This is what we are discussing today, and their predictable consequences. Do you see? And their shared responsibility. All right, before our session, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this. Everything is plain. But the other space depends on who is leading that day. You can just come, as the spirit leads, or how busy the coach is, or how maybe it's a group coaching session now, how the group feels. Both scenarios that I just painted may look loving, but only the first one is sustainable. All right. So as we wrap up, the third pillar, I said I'm just going to name them. The third pillar is what I call presence before performance. Presence before performance. This is the pillar that people misunderstand the most. And I'll say it again, that teenagers don't need impressive adults. They need regulated adults. So presence is not charisma. Presence is not constant talking. Presence is not oversharing. In fact, most of the times, my session with my teenagers, they talk more than I do. Your presence is emotional availability without intrusion. It is consistency without control. It is authority without volatility. A present adult can tolerate silence. A present adult can tolerate pushback. A present adult can tolerate not being liked in the moment. In fact, my favorite, I hope my teenagers are not watching this, but my favorite teenagers or my favorite guys, I call them guys now. The first instance when we met, they don't like me. The question is, who is this guy? Like, that pushback was there. But when you are fully formed, you can tolerate not being liked in the moment. Because what performance does is performance seeks approval. That's why parents are now doing gentle parenting with their children. You're seeking approval. But presence, what it offers is stability. And guess what? These children, they know the difference. They can tell when an adult is performing competence versus when this person is embodying regulation. Oh, this one is just a performer. He's just pretending. And this is very important. Your presence teaches even when you are not speaking. I've said that before. Your presence teaches how, you respond. See, let me say this. How you respond to disrespect. I gave you my personal example. How you respond to disrespect, how you handle disruption, because these are things that they will do to you. How you manage your own frustration, that is curriculum. That in and of itself is curriculum, guys. So think about the last time a teenager challenged you. Maybe in Nigeria, you might not have experienced that. For folks in the UK, in the US, or Canada, or the Western world, you might have experienced that a teenager just calls you out. Yeah, calls you out in a group session. Now, think about the time a teenager challenged you. Just think about it. I'm not saying you should think about what they said. I want you to think about what it pulled out of you emotionally. Then ask yourself, was I present in that moment, or was I performing authority? It's either my way or the highway. In conclusion, I will bring the three pillars together now and we wrap it up. Identity without structure becomes confusing. Structure without presence becomes rigid. Presence without identity becomes over-involved. All these three are required, but here's the part I want you to hear carefully. You see, tonight is not about mastering these pillars. Like I said, I'm just going to name them and we'll wrap it up. It is about realizing how much of the work you've been trying to do without these three core pillars. Most people are not failing because they are lazy. Most people are failing because they were never given a framework for responsibility. I'll say it again. Most people are not failing because they are lazy. They are failing because they were never given a framework for responsibility. And that is why Coaching the Coach exists, to build that framework. And we are building it slowly, carefully, and sustainably. This work is not a rush work. Because when you rush formation, what you do is you create damage that takes years to undo. And you will now start bleeding on the people you are leading. Do you see what I'm talking about? So I will just cap it up with this, talking about burnout, sustainability, and design. You see, burnout doesn't always come from doing too much. It comes from doing unclear work for too long. I've said that before, and I'm saying it again so that it sticks to you. When everything depends on you, everything depends on your mood, how you feel, your strength, your availability, what happens is resentment starts to grow. You start to bleed on your people. So sustainable youth work is not built on sacrifice alone. Nobody cares. You are not Jesus Christ. This work is built on design. It is built on boundaries and support. And I hope with this few points of mine, you've picked a whole lot, right? This session is free, but guess what? Formation is never free. So over the next 6 months, some of you will decide that, you see, guessing is no longer acceptable. I'm not just going to do this by my whims and caprices, right? Not because you want a program, but because young lives deserve adults who are formed, not just passionate. And that decision will require time. It requires reflection. It requires accountability. It requires structure. And this night, the essence of tonight's call, whatever you want to call it, is simply the beginning of that awareness. So I will stop here now, not because we are done, but because something important has started. All right. So I want you to sit with what you've heard. I want you to pay attention to the questions that are rising in you, because those questions are not confusion. They are invitation. Thank you for taking this work seriously, guys. And we will continue properly. All right. Don't forget, you've got access to the early bird of the Coaching the Coach 6-month development program. So I want to see your feedback in the chat right now before we call it a night, a day, whatever it is. Let me see your feedback right there. And if you want to take it to another level, you can do a video of yourself talking about the gems that you picked from this free session, and you post it on Instagram and you tag me at the Uncle Okbe. All right, I'll be glad to have you do that, because this 2-hour session is some couple of dollars and I'm giving it out free of charge. Now, this video will not be available publicly. Let me quickly say that. So if you want access to this session, right, or you want access to some other previous, we have some tools, right? Because of this, for the sake of tonight, I'm giving out this recording and some other resources, some few resources for $100. All right, for $100. Okay. So somebody is asking a question. I have a question concerning the coaching program. How is the structure for classes going to be, just to understand schedules and all? Okay. All right. So the schedule is going to be face-to-face session once a week for minimum of 1 hour, just once a week, but you now have tasks to do for the rest of the week, right? So every week we just meet to see what you've worked upon, because I'm literally going to hold your hand and walk you through the process. I don't know if that answers your question. And it's going to be for 6 months. Then before the end of the 6 months program, there are certain things that you would have done. You would have probably written a book. You would have come up with instruments that will help young people become better. There are a lot of things that you would have achieved at the end of the 6 months, right? So it's going to be uh, one engagement per week, but you have series of tasks to do for the remaining days of the week, and you now have access, direct access to reach out to me anytime. Maybe you have any question, you can just book an appointment. Dr. Opeyemi, I have this burning question, help me out. All right. Maybe you're writing a book and you need it's a whole lot. You have unlimited access for the 6 months. All right. And like I said, I'm not doing it alone. We've got some professionals coming on board. Mrs. Ogunyomi is coming on board. Pastor Miracle Femi Lazarus is coming on board. Dr. Abraham Ocean is coming on board. Coach Wendy is coming on board. And we have an anonymous faculty that I will not mention his name, so that you will not see the flyer and say, yeah, Dr. Quest said it too. I did not subscribe. So jump on it now that it is in the early bird phase. But if you have any question, further question, you can reach out to me. So I'm going to put my email address. I hope this is correct. So shoot me an email if you have further questions, and be rest assured that I will answer. Tony, yeah, thank you. That's my email address right there. And please, we have WhatsApp channel. Join our WhatsApp channel. We'll be putting resources, information there too. Please, let's have the link to the WhatsApp channel also. Some of you, we sent the email with the link, but I guess you didn't see that part. So join the WhatsApp channel. Follow me on Instagram at the Uncle Okpe, and let's take this to another level. Okay. I think we'll call it a day, right? This is 1:56 p.m. All right, exactly 2 hours. That's what my screen is showing me. We've spent 2 hours on this call. Thank you, guys. I'll see you when I see you in March. We start in March. Bye-bye.